All right, here is our second part to what is strategy. There was one point that I did not make about earlier, and that point was relative to the where to play question. And that point was that when you determine where you are going to play, one thing that you also do is you determine where you are not going to play. So where to play necessarily determines where you're not going to play. And what does that do is that helps the firm to focus. So you cannot capture all segments, and lack of focus is a killer. It is a killer to a business. It's a killer to an individual if that individual is trying to study, if that individual is looking for a job, if that individual is looking to achieve anything, if that individual is sports minded and wants to play a sport. That lack of focus, again, is an absolute killer because you try to do all things, you try to be all things to all people. And that's one thing that Porter says you cannot do, is that the one of the major points of strategy, according to Michael Porter, is determining what you will not do. So that is a point that I wanted to make earlier. Now I'll pause the screen. So our next question here then is actually question number 3. How can you win in your chosen market? And so this question really is about the value proposition. It's about your competitive advantage. And you say, well, what is the value proposition? It is the value that you propose to your consumer, to your customer, relative to the price. And that price as well is not only concerned with your particular product, but that price is indirectly concerned with your competitors' products. And so is the value that you are proposing a better value, a greater value with relation to price than your competitor is proposing? So that is that value proposition. So when you are determining how you can win in your chosen market, one thing that you have to decide up front is, will you be a cost leader or will you be a differentiator? So low cost are going to be found in what? Sourcing. They can be found in design, in production, in distribution, and as well as sales support. You have to determine whether you want to be a cost leader or a differentiator upfront, because that does what? That helps you determine what is your structure, what is the structure of the company. So if you are a cost leader, then your structure as well has to push out all of the costs out of the system. Your company or your product, rather, your product or your service has to be standardized. Your product or service has to be systematized. So standardization and systemization are core drivers for the firms that are cost leaders. However, just because you're a cost leader does not mean that you necessarily charge the lowest price. Remember that that extra margin that your company is going to create or generate, receive, can be used to acquire other advantages. So the example in the book was the better shelf space for Mars candy bars. It could be better customer service. You could spend more on your research and development. But again, what is the core driver? It is pushing all of the extraneous costs out of the system so that you can create that very standardized product just time after time after time after time. So the next major type of model is what? Is differentiation. And so what does differentiation mean? Differentiation means that you are offering a specific value proposition that appeals to a specific group of customers at a reasonable price for those customers. So probably you will have a smaller number of customers. However, the actual value that you create or the profit that you generate from the value that you are providing to that smaller group of customers, that profit per customer is probably actually greater than the profit per customer if you are a cost leader. And so where can you differentiate? So your differentiation can come in the form of product design. It can come from product performance. It can come from product quality, from branding, from advertising, from distribution, from ease of payment and returns. So how easy do you make it for your customers to pay you? I'll give you an example of advertising. When I worked in Chile, the great commercials there were Corona beer commercials. I personally don't care for Corona. I think it's terrible beer. But the people in Chile, if you were the cool people in Chile, you drank Corona because the advertising for Corona in Chile, as well as in the United States, is absolutely impressive. So that advertising is what differentiates, is one of the items that is differentiating Corona, but especially in Chile because, again, all the cool kids, they were drinking Corona. One of the other things that I wanted to mention is just some areas of advice, different bits of advice that I have read along the way that I think are important. And those bits of advice are these, is that if after lots of searching, you cannot create a credible how to win choice, then you should find a new playing field, pardon me, or get out of the game. Next is you should never give your current brand user a product-based reason to switch away from your product. Also, the competition will follow your technology. Try at least to match your technology and then ideally to beat your technology. So technological superiority alone is not sustainable. And then finally, balance present returns with investing for the future. So those are our points for number 3. How can you win in your chosen market? Number 4 is core capabilities. What are those core capabilities that are required, that you're required to have to win? And what are core capabilities? So those are the activities and capabilities that are the foundations for your where to play and your how to win choices. And so if your core capability is not directly related to your where to play and how to win choice, it is not a core capability. It is something that your consumer must value as a core capability. So what were some of the core capabilities that Procter & Gamble had? Their core capabilities were a deep consumer understanding, innovation in product, packaging, and customer service, brand building, go-to-market ability, so their ability to manage the relationships with their channels and their consumers, having a global scale as well is a core capability. And as well, being a cheerleader is actually a core capability. Being able to generate a sense of urgency for your people so that your people work as a team, as one, understanding that there is that sense of urgency. So Porter says that sustainable competitive advantage normally does not come from a single capability, but rather it comes from a tailored set of capabilities that fit with each other, that reinforce each other. Porter calls this an activity system. And pardon me, Porter says that we must do what? We must choose a different set of activities than our competitors do so that we can deliver unique value. So the next point is management systems. And so management systems are the systems, the structures, the metrics that support our choices and communicate results. And we must manage what matters. So other items when we talk about managing what matters, when we talk about our management systems, what we don't think of as management systems sometimes are actually our computer system, our hardware, our software. It's our structure, the organizational structure. It's the evaluation of processes from ideation to finished product. It is reporting metrics to inform and to validate the choices that we have made. So that management system is more than just a set of metrics. It's more than just your computer program. It is what is going to allow you to evaluate how well your operations are performing, how well you are doing what, how well your core capabilities are helping you to win in the market that you have chosen, where you choose to play, how you are supporting that winning aspiration. So to sum up, when we think of strategy, what is strategy? What is a definition of successful strategy? Strategy is a coordinated and integrated set of where to play, how to win, core capability, and management system choices that uniquely meet your consumers' needs and to create sustainable competitive advantage and superior value for your firm. And so strategy is about choosing a different set of activities than your rivals do to deliver what? To deliver unique value to your customers. And again, what does Porter say? Porter says that the essence of strategy is determining what not to do. Also, what are the building blocks of strategy? So those building blocks of strategy that will help us make our strategic choices are what? Are knowing what are the right questions to ask. So we've got to frame those questions. Then we have to diagnose. And so what is that diagnosis step? It's understanding where the company is making money, how the company is making money, why the company is making money. And then the next step is to forecast what are the futures that we need to plan for. So we forecast the top level, the lowest level, and as well a medium level when we look at what are the possible outcomes, what are the possible scenarios, and how are we going to position ourselves as a company to take advantage of those possible outcomes. So then the next step is to search, to understand what are those different ways to win based upon those scenarios that we have already determined. Then we have to do what? We have to choose. We have to focus. We have to choose a particular strategy that we're going to work with, and then we commit to that strategy. That strategy is going to take time. How long have you, or how many times, should I say, have you had a new manager, or has there been a new direction from the powers that be at your company, and someone says, oh, that's just the flavor of the month. The flavor of the month, what is the antithesis to a successful winning strategy? Because that flavor of the month does not do what? Does not have that sense of commitment, either from its proponents, being the C-suite, or from the workers, from the people who are actually performing the job. So that commitment is key. And then finally, we do what? We evolve, we learn, we adapt, we evaluate, we use that management system to determine where are we? Are we meeting those goals? Are we achieving based upon what we thought we would achieve? And then finally, when we talk about strategy, we also have to see, when is strategy going to let me pause this for 1 second.